Thank you, Molly. The one and only Tank Davis with me right now, one of the best fighters on the planet Earth. Tank, good to see you. Why this fight? What has he done to deserve to be in the ring against you?
He's a world champion himself. He's coming up and wait to dare to be great. So we fought before, you know, so it's history. It's history in that. There's two guys that's trying to be great.
A lot of people said they talked about y'all background with one another, how familiar you guys are with one another. Talk about that for a second. How well do you know him on a personal level in terms of your associations through the ranks, you know, in terms of your boxing career?
I don't know that, like, personally,
right.
Like, you know, but through the boxing, you know, we came up together and things like that. We had similar, you know, friends and things like that in the boxing world. We fought before, you know, so I'm familiar with his fighting style and things like that.
Gervonta Davis delivered a harsh message to Shakur Stevenson, and it wasn't shouted or chaotic. His delivery stayed composed, precise, and nearly clinical, which actually made the impact feel even stronger.
Up in the ring?
Yeah, we sparred before.
Can we ever expect a fight?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's going to be one of the biggest fights in the world.
No cap.
I feel like how they talking about Earl and Bud Crawford, I feel like me and Tank going to be basically 2.0 of that.
Yeah.
Probably even bigger than that. So
that Earl and Bud, who you got?
I think it's a great fight. I ain't going to pick no winner. I'm forever rocking with Bud regardless.
Gervonta Davis didn't have to go on a long tirade. He didn't try to hype it up either. He simply stated it plainly, like someone who already knows how the outcome will unfold before the bout even starts.
Your 135 contemporaries have a lot to say these days. Shakur Stevenson, well, of course he's now 135 after all that stuff, and then Devin Haney.
Right, so why people even talk like he the best at, he didn't even fight at 135 yet.
Right.
He didn't even have power at 126, 30 or none of that.
He is good.
Okay. How can you, all that's just okay. How can you stop people that can actually hit? No matter all that boxing, you going to get hit. What you gonna do
when he speaks about taking on champions chasing greatness, there's a sense of respect in his voice, yet a subtle self-assurance remains, as if he's experienced this before and understands precisely how these situations usually unfold.
7 more fights and I'm naming names. One of the guys, obviously, you and Shakur got into it on Twitter. You was like, you one of them 6 or 7.
Yeah, he's definitely one of them.
For sure?
Yeah, he's definitely one of them.
Do you think that's gonna be your hardest fight?
Hell no.
Nah?
Wow.
Cause he a good boxer. Like that's when I look at y'all two as the best in the division.
How? Show me something that he did spectacular. Show me something that he did outrageous. Show me. His power not outrageous.
Okay.
What defense?
You think he got defense?
He just jumped back. You never see him slip no punch. You never see him slip no punch. Go look at it. You see him back up from a lot of people. Back up, move around. He don't got no technique. And his offense is the same thing. Go look at his fights.
So
I probably pin him on game.
But you feel like it's easy work though. You like.
He then quietly sets the boundary, mentioning how some fighters begin referencing sparring stories to shape a narrative ahead of the bout, and the caution becomes noticeable between the lines. When Tank explains that this kind of talk only motivates him, it isn't merely an observation. It comes across as a pointed signal aimed directly at Shakur, without repeatedly mentioning him by name.
What do you think to those who might be saying that, you know, Tank is afraid of Shakur?
Afraid of what? Afraid of what? Us fighters, we're afraid of somebody. It gotta be somebody hitting us and hurting us. Like, he don't have no offense. Everything is defense. Defense only winning basketball and football. You don't win in boxing.
He emphasizes that experience is important, timing is important, and above all, understanding when you're truly prepared makes the difference. Tank is essentially pointing out that a fighter may possess talent, attention, and technical ability, but facing him inside the ring brings an entirely different situation. That's the element that really stands out.
Face the boxing and he get a lot of knockouts that people kind of making it like, if you ain't doing what Tank doing, then they gonna say it's boring. Do you feel like it's because of how his style is that they kind of putting that on you, like wanting you to do that?
People is blessed with different ability. He's blessed with a God-given ability that he crack you 9 times out of 10 you're gonna go down. That's his ability.
Yeah.
I'm blessed with God-given eyes. A lot of people don't understand how good my eyes is. I can see really good. Like punches coming my way, I know how to get away from them
Right.
at any given time. Our abilities are just different, so they probably are judging me from a scale of him. But at the end of the day, he's a great fighter. He's a special fighter. But I'm special in my own way.
He isn't downplaying Shakur's talent. Instead, he's raising doubt about whether he fully grasps the challenge ahead. It carries the same tone he's shown before past matchups, composed on the outside, threatening beneath, like a storm that doesn't need to signal its arrival. And for Shakur, hearing that isn't just about confidence. It sounds more like a reminder that Tank views himself as the final hurdle, not simply another name on the list.
Everybody thinks that Tank is gonna go in there and just knock out Shakur. It's gonna
That's
be,
not gonna happen.
But it didn't take. It shouldn't have taken this fight.
I knew he couldn't.
For people to realize.
Yeah,
right.
I knew that too. But yeah, Shakur is a defensive specialist.
And I've been saying this for a long time. If you pay attention to how Tank would react whenever Shakur's name came up, I was like, yo, it's something that Tank knows that most people don't know or understand. There's something that he sees in Shakur. It could be the fact that Shakur was a 2016 silver medalist.
Just as Gervonta Davis finishes delivering that composed, calculated warning, almost like someone already picturing the closing moments, Roy Jones Jr. enters the conversation and shifts the perspective with a seasoned, analytical viewpoint that makes you pause. Roy doesn't raise his voice or lean emotionally toward either side. He approaches it methodically, like an observer who has witnessed every form of greatness. When he states that Shakur Stevenson would beat Tank right now, it doesn't come across as disrespect. It sounds more like a measured assessment.
Things have going on outside the ring. But who wins that fight right now, in your opinion?
Right now, Shakur wins it because of his discipline. Because he showed against Teofimo, they can stay very disciplined all night. And he's the type of guy, he don't really do a lot of crazy stuff in his life normally. So it's like discipline is a thing that is not only exercised inside the ring, it's exercised also outside.
He focuses directly on discipline, linking it to both life outside the ropes and performance inside them, something supporters often overlook. Roy Jones Jr. is essentially suggesting that Shakur Stevenson competes the same way he carries himself, composed, precise, efficient, and free of unnecessary emotion or disorder. At the same time, he makes sure to emphasize that Gervonta Davis remains extremely dangerous. However, he hints that distractions beyond the ring can sometimes influence what happens within it. That isn't about ability, it's about concentration, and coming from Roy, that observation carries extra weight. But he doesn't simply favor Shakur and leave it there. He quickly adds that if Tank is fully focused and disciplined, he becomes a serious threat to anyone. That's what makes this matchup feel evenly balanced, where the outcome could swing either way with significant stakes attached.
Fight being like it is right now, I would lean towards Shakur because of his discipline, but don't get it twisted. If somebody could beat him, Tank Davis would be that person because of his intentions. When Tank is disciplined and got his mind on right, Tank's a problem for anybody. Because Tank can fight better than most people think he can. It's just that sometimes his outside antics get the better of him and it makes people think less of him.
One fighter brings razor-sharp precision, while the other delivers sudden, fight-ending chaos. Roy Jones Jr. points out that the result won't come down to skill alone, but to who's mentally locked in on that particular night. When he talks about Shakur Stevenson schooling Teofimo Lopez, he's showing that Shakur isn't just winning, he's proving his dominance over top-level competition in real time. Yet you can picture Gervonta Davis landing one perfectly timed punch and instantly flipping the whole fight. That's what keeps the tension high. This matchup isn't about who's better overall, but about who brings their absolute best when it matters most.
Four division champion already. Instead of looking to get more, show that he has all the tools, all the tactics, stay cool under pressure, proved a lot of things. Took a good fighter and took him to school. And that's what great fighters do. So it's like, you gotta give him his props. Excellent outcome. Had shots out to Teofimo too for taking a fight at that risk at that time in his career because that was a high risk for Teofimo.
And just as Roy Jones Jr. is there breaking it down like a professor explaining discipline versus chaos, Terence Crawford steps in with blunt, unfiltered honesty that reads less like analysis and more like a message to the entire division. Crawford doesn't sugarcoat anything, he openly admits he doesn't personally like Gervonta Davis. At that moment, it feels like we've moved beyond polite commentary into genuine tension. Yet he keeps it balanced. Crawford gives Gervonta Davis full respect as a fighter, his power, skill, and ring IQ all get recognized, but then he shifts focus to Shakur Stevenson, pointing out that style gives him problems. The way he frames it is smart. It's not that Shakur is better overall, it's that Gervonta's usual strengths might not work against him. In other words, even a fighter's biggest weapon could fail to appear on fight night.
You know what I'm saying, Shakur, that's the fight. Everybody want to see that. That's the 50-50, I think, you know what I'm saying? I've been saying 50-50. I told both of them that. That's a toss-up to me. No bias. Don't just say that because it's your man. Who you got winning that?
I got Shakur.
Are you saying that because that's your man and you don't like Tank?
No. Hey, like I said, I respect Tank. Like, boxing, he's one of the ones.
Yeah.
We gonna take his personality and personal things out of it. But boxing, he's definitely talented. You know what I mean? And he's definitely got that it. And yeah, he's definitely respected in boxing.
Crawford highlights how Gervonta Davis often takes shots in the early and middle rounds, trailing until he flips the switch. Against most opponents, that pattern works just fine, it's part of the usual story. But Crawford raises the question, what if the opponent doesn't give you that opening? What if Shakur Stevenson is constantly moving, reading, and shutting everything down like a human firewall? The comparison to Floyd Mayweather isn't random. Crawford is reminding us, we've seen this scenario before, fighters labeled boring until people realize they can't land a punch. He even brings in Keshin, signaling that the threats aren't limited to one opponent. That's when it really sinks in. This isn't just Gervonta versus Shakur. It's a new wave of fighters who don't follow the standard rules. Suddenly, the fight feels different. Yes, Tank has his equalizer, but what if there's nothing to even equalize?
But Shakur is a different fighter. You know, Shakur is different. You know, people may call him boring. People may say he can't punch. But they said the same thing about Floyd. Because they defensive fighters.
Yeah.
Tank is not going to be able to hit Shakur like he hit everybody else. And he know that. I will pick Shakur because I don't believe Tank will be able to land those big shots on Shakur like he does everybody else.
Right.
Shakur defense is different.
And just as Crawford lays it out like a quiet storm, essentially warning that Gervonta Davis could be swinging at air all night if Shakur Stevenson finds his rhythm, the Porterway crew jumps in, turning it into a full-blown debate where no one fully agrees, yet every point makes sense. One voice confidently states, Shakur takes him, calm and unwavering. Another immediately counters, saying, wait, you haven't seen the best version of Tank yet. That's the most unnerving argument in boxing, the idea that his ultimate form is still unseen. It sounds wild until you realize it could be true. Then the conversation shifts into a chess-like breakdown. They're not debating toughness, they're dissecting tempo. One side argues Shakur's defense and punch output over 12 rounds will dominate. The other insists Tank doesn't need volume, he only needs one perfect moment. Suddenly, the same chilling question returns. What happens when precision and patience collide with hidden power waiting to strike like an unexpected twist?
Tank Davis, all he takes is one shot. He's a very patient fighter. He doesn't throw a lot of shots, but every shot he throws, he makes them count.
I said that's the best chess match in boxing.
Definitely.
I was getting ready to say, I'm going with Tank in 12.
He stops him in 12?
No.
Just
decision, huh?
12 round decision.
He stops, I got him stopping Shakur 11.
Then Porter steps in with that seasoned, seen it all perspective, focusing on the what-if scenarios. That changes the whole vibe. Now it's less about skill and more about venturing into unknown territory. He's essentially asking, what if Shakur Stevenson gets hit clean for the first time? Not grazed, not tapped, but caught perfectly with Gervonta Davis level timing. They bring up M.I.S as an example, showing Tank has faced real tests and adapted mid-fight. Shakur, on the other hand, has been so precise and controlled that it feels like we're all waiting for a single slip just to see how he handles it. Predictions start flying, stoppage, decision, draw, no one sees the same outcome. And somehow, that uncertainty makes the matchup feel even more monumental. When they call it the best fight in boxing, it's not hype, it's reality. This isn't just a clash of styles, it's a collision of philosophies. One fighter dictates the pace, the other refuses to follow. At its core, this isn't merely a fight, it's a mental battle with gloves on.
But when I look at the way both fighters box, I think it's a match made in heaven. It's the match made in heaven.
Now I close my eyes and I'm thinking, I'm watching Shakur fight, man. Those more punches than Tank.
Yeah, that could be a problem for him.
It could be a problem for him. And the thing about it is, his defense is good. And if it goes the distance, you say it's
So, when you take a step back and really absorb it all, the Tank versus Shakur debate stops being a simple who wins question and becomes something far more complex. Gervonta Davis moves like a game finisher, calm, patient, waiting for that one perfect opening to end everything instantly. Meanwhile, Shakur Stevenson approaches it like chess, anticipating the final move ahead of time. He controls the ring, dictates the pace, and makes even top fighters look unprepared. Add in voices like Roy Jones Jr., emphasizing that discipline can tip the balance. Crawford warns that Tank's most dangerous weapon might never even connect. And Porter reminds us that a single clean shot has the power to rewrite everything we think we know. That's the beauty of it, no one is entirely right, but no one is entirely wrong either. This fight isn't about resumes or highlight reels anymore. It's about identity. Does precision overcome power? or does power disrupt perfection? That question sits at the heart of all the discussion. And that's why this matchup feels bigger than belts or rankings. It's a statement about what boxing looks like at its absolute peak.
Yeah, y'all don't nobody want to hear draw, but it's gonna be, and this is gonna be a straight up.
I got an 11-round stoppage by
Tank. If he don't stop him, who you gonna give it to?
I got Tank 8-4.
He says draw. I say Shakur throws more punches.
Guest is on the line.
If you go 12 rounds, I think Shakur got it.
One moment, sir.
Okay. Yeah. I think Shakur got it. If it goes 12.
Yeah.
Because he throws more punches.
Share your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear what you think. And don't forget to hit like, share this video, and subscribe to the channel. Catch you in the next one.